Welcome back to the Delaware Way. A commission was put together to come up with ways to improve Wilmington schools. And here to talk more about it is Matt Albright, a reporter at DelawareOnline.com and the News Journal. So this commission comes out with their report. What were their top recommendations?
The two biggest ones, the one that they really emphasize, the first one is redistricting Wilmington schools. Right now, the city of Wilmington is split into 4 traditional school districts. It's also got a VOTEC district, and that's got a smattering of charter schools across the city. Basically, what the committee says is that's too many districts for one city. That doesn't make sense. You shouldn't have 4 different people calling the shots on top of all the other people. So what they want to do is take the Christina and Colonial school districts out of the city and give the students, and Colonial doesn't have any schools in the city, but Christina has schools in the city, give those to Red Clay. So basically what this would mean is that Red Clay has most of the city's students and schools, and the Brandywine School District has some, but there would basically be fewer school districts in the city.
I've never understood why the city has been split up into different school districts, let alone 4. I don't even understand 2. Why wouldn't they just make Wilmington its own school district?
Well, the reason why we have the 4 districts is it goes back to desegregation, as so much school history does. The way that they came up, the problem that you have in funding schools is that the city does not provide the property tax base that the suburbs do. You get more money from your property taxes, which provide the local share of revenue for the school districts. So their solution was, look, let's split the districts so that each district has a chunk of the suburbs and a chunk of the city, and that way we have sort of an equitable system. So if you just created a city district, and this is something that Philadelphia, for example, struggles with, and that a lot of cities struggle with, is there aren't the property taxes to fund a school district at the level that the suburban school districts could. And that's one of the things that's being worked out right now. There are a lot of details that you have to work out. You can't just snap your fingers and bam, you've reassembled the districts. They've got to figure out a way to get Red Clay the resources that it would need to assume all these schools, or else Red Clay is going to be trying to do more with less relative money per student.
Now, here's what's interesting about this. You could make it one district, which brings us to the second recommendation,
right?
Which is?
School funding specifically for high poverty schools. And the theory behind this is relatively simple. You can't expect a school that has a high population of kids in poverty and a more affluent school that has a low percentage of kids in poverty to do the same, all things being equal. You need to have more resources in those high poverty schools so they can take care of things like, you know, hunger issues in schools. It's hard to teach a kid if they're not eating. Social and psychology services for kids who undergo violence in Wilmington, these sorts of things. So what the state is trying to do is figure out a way to get more resources targeted to these high poverty schools so that they can take care of some of these problems and hopefully improve.
So where does the money come from for that?
That is the question. And that's why a lot of people say it's not likely that this is going to get done, if you will. This is not going to get solved this year.
Because I would think that there was 2 alternatives, right? That's take money from some of the richer districts and give it to the poorer districts, which would just infuriate the richer districts because their money's not being spent there, which, by the way, is probably written in the law that their money gets spent, that have to change the law completely, or that have to increase taxes and raise more money and give it to the poor districts, both of which would be pretty unpopular.
Yes, and so part of it is Delaware has a archaic and really crazy system of funding schools called unit count, and the running gag among like education wonks in Delaware is that there are 3 people in the universe who understand unit count. But basically,
Are you one of those 3?
I am not one of those 3 people. I wish I was. But basically what it comes down to is if you get a certain number of students, you earn a unit, and that unit gives the district enough cash. If you have special needs students, for example, a unit of special needs kids gives you more money. There's a bill in the legislature right now that would say if you have a certain number of kids who are below the poverty line, that gets you more money than a regular unit per se. But again, that would require a lot of money to say, okay, well, this school is going to get more money because they have high poverty kids. And Delaware is struggling to pay for a lot of stuff. Its trust fund is systemically underpaid, you know, to try to pay for transportation improvements. There's just not a whole lot of money rolling around in the state of Delaware's coffers right now. So that's the tough question, is how do you pay for these extra services?
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks for having me.
Look forward to reading your reporting. You can read Matt Albright's reporting in DelawareOnline.com and also in the News Journal. He covers education for both. That wraps it up for the Delaware Way. I'm Larry Menti. Stick around for another thing.